Well, good afternoon, listeners. You're listening to Lament of Hope podcast, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Miriam Stockley. Her voice is just, I think it's very ethereal. She's definitely been called like a very renowned new age artist. She's done several solo albums, and she worked with a time with, I want to make sure I'm saying the names right here, Karl Jenkins and Mike Ratledge.
Yeah,
Um,
who sadly passed away. The latter
yeah.
recently. Yeah,
But she worked with them for quite some time and they made some beautiful music. Adiemus is a very popular song. Um, but she's been a backup artist and a guest appearance for a lot of people like Tina Turner and Queen, as well as Elaine Page, who is also a beautiful musician. Her rendition of Memory is one of my favorites. But what I love about Miriam, and I've always wanted to have her on this podcast since I started, was I grew up with the Beatrix Potter BBC films, and
mm,
she did the credits for that with Perfect Day, and that song has been with me since my childhood.
wow.
And it's a song that I still listen to and love, and it's been very soothing in my life. And so her name's always been associated with that song to me. And so I've always wanted to have her on the podcast to speak with her. But she
I
was
have a
actually
very,
just,
I have a very special story about that song, actually. Just if you remind me.
oh, well, why don't you go ahead? Go ahead and start with that.
Well, I mean, that was done so many years ago, and you're not the first, the first generation to tell me that they grew up with that song, because now that generation has grown up, and they've had their children, and their children have grown up. So I've had two generations plus the original parents who grew up with that. So it's like,
Oh, I'm sorry. I hope it doesn't make you feel
oh, no,
older.
listen, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, but that's it. We all grow up. Um, I wish I could stay young forever, but that's just the way things go. But that particular song was really interesting because about maybe a couple of years after I released that song on the Beatrix Potter series, the Peter Rabbit series, my husband and I were lying in bed. This is in the UK when I lived in the UK, lying in bed, and we heard the song come on, and it was uh, it was a program about children with cancer, and it they had a young girl. She couldn't have been more than about 7 or 8 at the time. She'd lost all her hair, and she was going in to have an MRI. It was probably not her first. It was, she was obviously upset and very nervous. And they had asked her, "What will help you? Anything that we can do
Oh,
to help you?" And she said, well, she wanted her bear, which she had. And then she wanted them to play this song to her to calm her down. And oh, makes me emotional when I talk about it. Um, and obviously when she went into the machine, because it can be very frightening, MRI machines,
yeah.
they played this song to her. And I just said to my husband, this is it. That's it. If I don't sing another note tomorrow, I think that my job is done. It was so beautiful, so heartwarming to see
Well,
that something I could do could help a child like this in such stress.
that is a gift. I want to let you know I suffered with really bad panic attacks when I was a child. I've had panic moments. I still have them, but had them a lot as a kid, and I would play your song a lot. Um, that I would listen to, and I'd watch the Beatrix Potter and that music, and it was very soothing for me. So you also were,
That is, I feel so blessed to hear that.
yeah,
Um,
you've
because
helped
really,
many kids.
that's why we do what we do. I keep on saying to people, okay, there's the fame and the fortune and the running around and signing autographs. And I did that as a child. I mean, when I was brought up in South Africa, I only left South Africa for good when I was 18 years old. And up until that point, I was working nonstop. And my sister and I were big star names in South Africa as
Yeah.
children. Um, so I'm used to that and signing autographs and doing all that stuff. I moved past that into a more, you know, I know, retrospectively introspective uh, path for my music. So it's something that I
Mhm.
really spiritually became uh, very in touch with.
Yeah. what do you think? Is it because you think you're getting older, or is it having kids? What
I
kind of
think
gave you that introspective
having children
path?
does change you. It really
Yeah.
does change you because your priorities change. Well, for most people, you suddenly you realize that you are responsible for these little people growing up, and you have to take on that responsibility. And I think that that's what I did with my music. So where I was doing a lot of touring and going, out of town, I missed certain years, of my kids growing up because of my career. And that was one of the biggest reasons why we moved here to this country.
I wanted to ask you, and I mean, and I've talked to so many different singers, one of whom has two kids and she's touring with Hans Zimmer. And she
Hmm.
said something very profound to me. She said, I love my children, but I love my music. And the music industry doesn't allow me to do both well. Because I have to kind of choose between touring
Hmm.
or being with my kids. And she said, and then if I do tour and there's like a lapse in the tour of a few days, then I'll just quickly fly home just so I can be with them because I don't want to miss a milestone. And then I'll fly back.
Hmm.
For you, like, how, because I've wondered, and something I wonder with having kids is women do have this really complex, hard thing where we're talented, we have these gifts, but we also can have kids. And you can't make both 100%. At least I haven't met anyone yet who's admitted they've done both 100% completely.
Hmm.
I mean, what are your thoughts on that being in the industry so long?
Well, I say because I did so much in my former years, it was it was easier to say no.
Okay.
Um, but the other thing is that, being kind of the major breadwinner of my family, you have to balance that. Okay.
Yeah.
The rent still has to be paid, the mortgage has to be paid. What, you know what I mean? There are expenses. So you have to balance what works for you. And it took me a while. Sorry, you're gonna hear lots of different weird noises coming and seeing people coming in and out. I hope that I can just we can
You're
continue to
fine.
do this. Yeah, and then of course you'll get to meet my little dog as well, because that's another thing that is dear to my heart is animals. Huge, huge animal advocate, but not to you know go too far away from the subject. Um, I could have toured nonstop if I wanted to. I could have been out of the country touring with different people. I turned down tours. I turned down tours with Roger Waters, um, and some very big artist names because I did not want to be full time on the road, and because of my children.
Yeah.
So there is a compromise. You have to compromise. Do I look back and say, "Oh, I regret that"? Not for 1 second.
What can I ask you, what is a sweet memory that you're so glad you were able to see as a
In my
mom?
As a mom,
Yeah.
is the first. I don't know how old your children are. Or do you have?
I don't have any
Oh,
yet.
you don't have any yet. Okay, sorry. No, okay. So the their first words when they recognize you as mama or whatever they're going to call you, is absolutely magical. I mean, each step is so incredible when you just watch them. You don't have to really teach them much because they just pick it up,
Yeah.
and that to me I see it now because my son has just had a baby. Well, he's just turned 1. So I have a grandchild who's 1. And I can see now watching him that he suddenly decided he's going to get up and walk. Nobody's telling him to do it, but he just does it. And that to me is like the wonder of nature. It just happens. They just do it. And I don't, it's like magical for me. That is a magical moment for me.
Yeah. No, it sounds very magical. I don't
Yeah.
remember doing that for my mom, but I'm sure
Yeah.
she'd say that.
Oh, it's amazing. And then, of course, watching them grow up and watching them become successful. Now, when I say successful, I'm not talking about earning loads of money successful. It's
Yeah.
just working hard. They are Both my children are very hard workers. have been, you know, my son is just on another level now. He knows what he's doing in his career, um, and he's doing really well. And my daughter too. They've they're both in different directions. One's in hospitality, other one's in music, but they've somehow managed to become successful young adults.
Yeah. Do you, um, looking back, because, when I was making sure I was reading more about your life and in more detail, I know your
Hmm.
website shared that you've been in the music industry over 40 years, which is like
Yeah.
huge. Do you, um, feel like you've done everything you've wanted to do with the music?
I I think so. I
Yeah.
think so. I think I would, yeah, there might be a few little recording projects that I would still like to do. Um, maybe I'd like to do a Christmas album or something like that. But it's not anything which is career altering or life changing. It's just something that I would like to do. Yeah, but I touched a little bit on the acting thing, kind of musical drama and stuff like that. But I don't know if I would have had the capacity or the patience for getting into film. I just wouldn't have been me.
Well, you were in so many soundtracks and even Lord of the Rings, which I
Yeah.
was like, I that the La Florienne theme is beautiful, and there you are singing, and I'm like, if I could just be on the soundtrack as a chorus, my life would be made, I think. That would be it.
Yeah, yeah, I did that, and then I was sang in the chorus as well. So it was amazing. Some of the, it's funny if I was going through my film work, and there were some films that I don't even remember doing or don't. The the some
You're
of
like,
the
that's
titles.
me.
Yeah, I have to actually play them to say, okay, yeah, I can hear my voice on that. But I'd never watched the movie, or maybe I didn't even take a note of the title when I was recording it because I was so not starstruck. That's the thing. A lot of people, they put out photos of themselves, all these stars that they've worked with and these important people. I never really did that. Even though people said to me, you should write a book and you should do this and you should do that. It was never top of my list.
Why, that's interesting. Why do you think you didn't have a fascination with fame?
I think because I started in the business when I was 11.
Okay.
So when you grow up, in the business, and then you can see every aspect of it from the background, because I didn't grow up suddenly as I've been on The Voice and suddenly I'm a big star. That's not how it happened. It
Yeah.
happened gradually. And as I say, because I was a backup singer for so many years, working in the background with musicians, it was always more important for me to get the accolades from people in the music business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though it's lovely, it didn't matter whether somebody said, we don't like her voice, we don't like her music. Just flick it off. But it was the people that I was working with in the industry, and they were the ones that kind of me feel like I was not just singing for my own joy or
Yeah.
pleasure, but that I was actually a professional who was respected in the music business. That was very important to me, was that I had integrity as an artist and as a singer. So,
Was there what for you was like, this is what I will always stick to with my music. I'm not going to change on this. Because there have been musicians that I've seen where like they completely change genres like 20 years later or whatever. And then when you talk about how they started, they don't really like to talk about it because that was like, oh, that was kind of my beginning, not really. I don't like to kind of go there with my roots, which I mean, I can understand, but for you, is there something you were like, I will not compromise on this, no matter how long I'm in this
well,
music
I've
industry?
done the compromising. That's the thing, is that over the years, when I didn't value what I had, and there's sometimes we can lose our way, is I did a lot of dance re what do you want to call them, replays or whatever they call them, when you re-record a track. It could be a Bonnie Tyler track or wherever it is, and you re-record it for the dance market. So the back track is not like the original. It's very high energy dance type thing. I've done a lot of that. And sometimes I look at it and I go, "Ugh, okay, that's not, that wasn't a good move, right?" I mean, one of them became actually a hit in Australia. I never got paid a cent for it, not 1 cent. But that's another story. It's, but you live and you learn, and you make those mistakes, and then you say, "That's it. I won't compromise again." And I think that just comes with maturity, you know, and yeah, well, maturity is age, isn't it? Really, um, understanding what you're worth, because it's very easy in this business for people to lose their worth, especially
Yes.
in
Yes.
a male-dominated business, where a lot of the times backing singers would come into a recording studio and they would give you a track and say, "Okay, here's the artist. What would you do here?" And so you make up phrases, you make up the voices. A lot of times they don't know what they want. They want you to make it up for them, to make it sound good. And you'll come up with a hook, you'll sing, you'll track it up, you'll put loads of harmonies and you'll make it sound, great. And then you might not get a credit for it.
Hmm.
A lot of the times your name is not on the album, it's not on the record.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of the times they'll book you and say, "Okay, well, I'd like to book you to do 2 songs and it'll be 3 hours or whatever it is to come and do those songs." I would get there and I used to work very quickly. I didn't believe in stretching it out. I wanted to get in there, do the job, leave. And so I would finish way under the time that I was supposed to and being paid for. And then what they would say is, "Oh, well, you finished early. So we're going to give you another track to do. We're going another song for you to do." So they would put another song in, you know what I mean? And they would never say, "Well, we'll compensate you for that," because I'm
Oh.
saving them studio time, which is extremely expensive.
But
By
you're also probably, especially because you're trying to do your best, you're in this weird position of like, well, if I say no, then I'm looking mean. And also,
correct.
I want people to know that I can sing. So the more I do, that's really hard.
Yeah. That's part of being a professional in this business is to get in there, do the job and leave. And it's interesting. There's only 2 jobs ever in my life where I have actually, after being in the studio for 4 hours with a bunch of people I'd never seen before, who couldn't make up their mind. There were too many chiefs, not enough Indians, right? And everybody's like shouting, "Okay, well, maybe we should do this." And, "Oh, no, maybe we should do that." And, "Okay, maybe let's try that." And after 4 hours, we hadn't even got one chorus recorded of the song, and we had 4 songs to do. And
Ugh.
oh, yeah. And I said, "I'm sorry, but this is not going anywhere. I don't want to take your money, but this is the most unprofessional session I have ever been booked on, and I'm leaving." So I left,
It
and
must have been kind of freeing, though,
well,
that you could do
I
that.
felt bad because as a professional, you want to come in there and do your best, but when you're with people who don't know who you are, and I was with a bunch of people who really didn't understand music properly and harmony and how to get things structured. And it was very hard for me. Sorry, there's something flying around here. It's very difficult for me to say to them, "Listen, you don't know what you're doing." And you can't say that. You cannot say that. So I thought it was easier for me just to remove myself from the situation.
Yeah. Do you do you think there is something that makes good music? Or do you think it's easy to, because I have talked to some people who really don't think there are rules for music. It's like whatever you want it to be, it will be beautiful because it's your creation and therefore it's beautiful. But I've always just wondered, like, there are some music I listen to and I'm like, I just don't like it. And then there's music I listen to and I'm like, it's beautiful. I love that. It just hits
Yeah.
in my soul and I transcend. I was talking to a instrumentalist the other day and he told me like music is meant to transcend you. You're supposed to get out of yourself and you're supposed to feel like you're lifted up out of something, out of yourself, and you're just immersed in this music and then you come back. It's this unifying moment and then you come back to yourself. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think makes good music? Or do you think that whatever type of music it is or whatever sound it is, it's still music.
Um, that's once again, I don't want to sound elitist, but some of the what I call non-music today, which lacks proper structure. So in other words, I love music that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. To
Mm.
me, it's got to tell a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's how you, and it doesn't even have to have words, as you know, when you listen to Adiemus or some of my earlier stuff that I did with praise, it didn't even have to have words for it to actually catch you here.
Oh,
So
yes. Yeah.
yeah, so it's got to be in the chord structure, the way the chords move, because there are motive ways for chords to move, to to invoke that feeling that you're talking about, that emotion. And then, of course, it's to do with the delivery. And if a person is really selling something with their voice, I'll get it. I can hear when somebody is singing emotively, um, because I can feel it and hear straight away.
Yeah.
And there are some singers, artists that I'll hear them immediately. And that, Bruno Mars was one of them. Before he even got into all the hip hop stuff that he's doing now. But I just heard him sitting, I think it was on a Saturday Night Live or one of those shows, live shows that he was doing, late night shows. He sat down and he sang this ballad. I've never been able to find it since. And I went, oh my God, this guy, he just sings from the soul.
Mm.
And it just got me right here. Um, so there are people like him. There's another one, Teddy Swims. The first time I heard Teddy Swims sing, I went, "Oh wow, this is amazing!" And there was also a little boy, a little Brazilian boy. He couldn't have been more than I'm just trying to work out how old he might be now, maybe 15 now. But I watched some of his videos when he was a younger kid, blind. Absolutely beautiful. If I played you some of his videos, you just melt.
Mm.
He really he hits you right here because he chooses the right kind of songs for his voice. So the song is emotive. He is emotive when he sings. He's singing in Portuguese. I don't understand a word, but I don't have to
Yeah.
because of that communication that he's putting forth.
Do you think, I mean, I know we talked about Perfect Day, which obviously has a very emotional significance for you, but is there a song, is it that or another song that you think you did the most emotive that you're very proud of? Like when you listen to it, you also feel the emotion you were feeling when you were singing it?
Yeah, I mean, when I recorded my first album, entitled Miriam, there's a track on there, which kind of speaks to me. It's called Arcadia.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, the words are very emotive. It's about war. Um, in fact, it gives me makes my hair stand up on end. But it's the melody is so emotive. The arrangement, the string arrangement is so beautiful on that track. And I can't even remember James, his last name, who wrote the string arrangement, but it was just magnificent. So when
Mm.
I hear it, it's not me listening to my performance necessarily. It's
Right.
just listening to the whole, you know. And in fact, I sang that track after Princess Diana tragically died. And this is probably long before you were born. But you must have heard about what happened, how she died in a
Oh, yeah.
car accident. I was watching TV and I saw it kind of happen live while they were, you know, in the tunnel. And after that, they did a memorial for her at the place where she was buried. It was called Althorpe House, where she grew up in England. And I did a big concert for her. And Arcadia was one of the tracks that I performed. So once again, it's got a lot of meaning for me.
Didn't she buy one of your albums before she died, or it was like her
She did
last
one,
album that
yeah,
she bought?
Songs of Sanctuary was one of the last albums that she actually bought. Hang on, my dog wants to say hi. So I have to lift her up so you can see her. Come here, Baba.
Ah, hello.
There she is.
What's her name?
It's Lexi.
Hi, Lexi.
Hey, Peppa.
Oh, she's adorable.
She's she's a dolly. But yeah, it was one of the last, and I only found that out when they asked me to sing at that concert because of the fact that mine was one of the last albums she ever bought. And it was then confirmed because, and I can't remember his name. Um, I've got the book upstairs. The guy who wrote the story about her, who was in the car with her as her bodyguard, what's his name? Forgive me, I can't remember his name. But he was here where I live in Florida. He was here doing a book signing. And I decided I was going to go and say hi to him and I was going to get a book because he was obviously like the last person to see her alive.
Yeah.
Um, and I think his first name was Paul. Anyway, so I lined up for ages. I mean, everybody was queuing up 2 hours, I think it was, before I got to him. And when I got to him, I said, my name is Miriam Stockley. I said, I'm a singer. I said, and I believe that my album, Songs of Sanctuary, and before I could even finish speaking, he stood up. And once again, I get very emotional. He stood up with tears in his eyes and he came around and he gave me the biggest hug. And he said, I was with her when she bought that album. So
Wow. What an honor for
unbelievable,
you.
unbelievable. That's, you see, once again, these are the things that matter the most. At the end of the day, is humanity first.
Well, I was gonna say she is one of the most, I mean, even my mother, who grew up in the United States had really very little to do with her at all, but would see her on TV. My mom would always tell me how much she admired her. She knew nothing about this woman, but she would always admire the way she talked to people and how she would interact with people
Mm.
that weren't royalty. And my mom said that woman is just so gentle. Like she's just got such
Really, her compassion for
a
people.
exactly. And so ever since, even now, I mean, she's passed away a while, and I mean, people still who never even knew her when she was alive, her legacy has always been one of emotion and compassion. And so
Mhm.
everyone, I mean, she's kind of the people's princess, still.
She was, and she always will be for those who remember her. It was
Yeah.
a very, very tragic time in Britain when
Yeah.
she passed. Really, really tragic time. But yeah, you see how your music takes you through all these different areas. Um, it's amazing. I would never have got to do the things that I'd done and been to the countries that I've been to and sung for those people. It's different people react differently as well to music. I mean, when I used to do concerts in Japan, the reaction of the audience was very different to the reactions that you see in the Western world. Because in the Western world, they just go nuts and they scream and shout
Yeah.
but there they very silent. And then they'll applaud for you. I'm not talking about when Taylor Swift goes to do a concert. That's very different because a different kind of audience. But the audience that I was performing to were more grown up, more mature audience. And they're the ones who liked more of the adult contemporary stuff rather than just the poppy stuff. There was tons of that poppy stuff going on in Japan. So, you know what I'm talking about. Um,
Yes, I do.
but the weird thing is I suddenly became an icon there, which is so strange because I recorded something called Vocaloid. I don't know if you've ever heard of what this is, but it's a vocal package, one of the first earliest vocal packages, wasn't even written for Mac, it was written for PC. Um, and it involved me singing every conceivable, I don't know, way of pronouncing words. So I'd have to sing every single syllable
Hmm.
individually in 5 different pitches. So and
Okay.
then I'd have to sing them with a consonant, with a st or a k or something at the end. And then they would put this together. I mean, when you listen to it, it sounds really robotic compared to what AI can do now. But I was the first one, and the Vocaloid is called Miriam. And so what did they do? The Japanese made this emoji. I don't know what to call it, but it was like an anime thing they made of me. Now, if you put in Miriam Vocaloid anime, you will see that I don't look anything like it, but I wish I did. Because she is stunning. She's absolutely stunning. So now, for people who are anime fans, and I've met a few young people who dress up like the Japanese and go to all these anime fairs and stuff. When they found out that I'm kind of part of this thing. Oh my God, it's like I'm some kind of a goddess to them. It's very strange. So, it just works in very different ways.
You're like, I'm so glad you were emotionally impacted by this song.
It's hilarious. It really is hilarious. I mean, I just find it amusing. But obviously I'm also very flattered. But that was just one other thing. I was just trying to tell you how different people from different backgrounds and
Yeah.
you know react to things that I've done over the years. And some people think that I'm new age. Some people think I'm adult contemporary. And what did the Germans call me something? And the French called me something else. It was totally different. And of course, the Japanese said that I was under the healing music category in Japan. So
Yeah.
that's what they call that. So once again, I was kind of pigeonholed into all these different categories, which is also very amusing.
Well, I wanted to ask you, you're talking so much about how important it is to you that humans connect.
Yeah.
And obviously, one reason I started the podcast is that's what I wanted was to talk to people and hear their stories and give them that space where they felt that they could share. And I wanted to ask you, is there something that someone did for you in your life that you really like always remember because of how impactful it was, even if it was very small? Like
Yeah.
just something kind.
Yeah. And I would say, in his own way, the the first person who said to me, get up on that stage and sing, because I had stage fright when I was 9, and I had to get up and audition in front of the entire school for one of the musicals that we were doing. It was quite a lavish musical. And he was flamboyant himself. He was my English teacher and drama teacher. And I remember just getting up there and freezing and going, and then nothing would come out. And he called me aside. He said, I've heard you sing. I've heard you in singing classes. I know that you have it in there. I know it's in there. I know you have the talent. And he said, now get up on that stage, he said, and sing. Open your mouth and sing. And, he broke through a barrier for me.
Hmm.
That was so important because he recognized something in me that I didn't recognize in myself, even though I'd been singing since I was 3, at home. But he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And that was very moving, very moving. He's now passed on. But
I- Is there like a personality trait in yourself that you are very proud of? Maybe that over time you've strengthened as you've grown?
I think my loyalty to my fans,
Yeah.
that I still communicate with fans from, I don't know, 35 years ago. I used to sit there before we had proper, before we had ways, internet and all that stuff. I would sit there until 3 o'clock in the morning replying to letters and that fans had written to me.
Mm.
So I'm still in touch with them to this day, and they're like part of my family, my extended family.
Did you feel because you felt like they were the ones who helped you become recognized, or?
Absolutely. And I loved hearing their stories about how I'd helped them. And, that was the biggest eye opener for me, is to hear people that I never, strangers who had listened to my music, um, feeling that I'd managed to heal them in some way. Because
Yeah.
there's so much emotional trauma out there. I'm not a therapist, but if I can help them in other ways, that's the most wonderful thing that I could possibly do.
Yeah. What is something about yourself that maybe you wish was different or that you want to sharpen? It's not maybe um you can say it's a flaw or it could be something that maybe a thorn in the flesh that you wish you could not have or just something that you as a person wish you could develop better or was different.
There is one, and that is I am loyal to a fault.
Okay.
Um, I'm very loyal to my family, to my friends. Um, I sometimes get bruised easily if, something happens and one of my friends might say something unkind or whatever. And especially now when you're seeing it on social media,
Oh yeah.
that
Yeah.
hurts. Because I'm very vocal I've become, and I don't want to get into that in any kind of depth, but I've become very vocal politically because of the inhumanities that I see. And I get a lot of pushback. I've learned to, I must learn to toughen up and not take it personally and let it go. But the other thing that I wish that I could also let go is, um, mm, I wouldn't say that I have anxiety, but I worry a lot. I worry about the safety of my family, my children, my grandchild, even my close friends. I tend to worry about them. And in a way, I wish that I could put that aside. Because
Yeah.
sometimes it'll keep me up at night, the worry.
Wait.
Is everybody okay? Even if it comes to like my daughter's dog, God, is he going to be all right? He's
Yeah.
got this, he's got that. And I'll lie there awake. I wish I could just not be that sensitive.
Well, it seems like you love them very much, though. So that's
Yeah,
probably in part why you worry, because you want them to be okay.
yeah, yeah. I do. I give 100%. That's to my friends, to my fans, to whoever I can, uh, in my close circle of friends and family. Yeah, I'm extremely loyal.
Do you, where do you think this like compassion comes from, this love of people? Because I've met so many people, and this is not to throw anyone under the bus, because everyone is different, and that's what's beautiful about people is all the differences that they have and the uniqueness and the way that there's no one else that was made exactly like them. But it is hard to find people who are very empathetic. It's kind of a, I don't want to say it's a dying trait, but it's not, it takes a lot of work for some people to become empathetic, for a lot of people to become empathetic. Like you have to work really hard to see some emotional response or for them to have some sort of even compassion or an attempt of understanding is very hard.
Mhm.
And I've always grown up, and it's not to toot my horn or anything, but similar to you, I never needed to work hard. It was just there. So if there was a dog on the road, run over, like even now, like I'll just think about it and my husband will be driving next to me. I'll be like, I'm so sad by that. And he'll just be like, well, it's what happens in life. And I'm like, but it's such a picture of like how, death is right there. And like, it's just normal, but it's not normal,
Yeah,
that's sad. And things where like I'll even watch movies and just small things that remind me. Like I don't have a good relationship with my father, and I was seeing a movie the other day, and there was this 5-second clip of this guy who just hugs his daughter, and I just started crying. Like
right.
that's how
Yeah.
quick I am to interact in that way. And similar to you, it's hard for me because I talk to so many people, and I've had people say, "Well, why would you want to talk to that person?" or "Why would you want to think about that?" or "Why?" Like there's just it's a very quick shut down. It's just kind of like, this is it, that's it, no response. And I'm like, but don't you want to know more? Don't you want to ask the person? Don't you want to understand the heart behind it? Why are we so quick?
It's really
Um,
interesting because you say this because I find that there's a lack of critical thinking.
yeah.
People just now very quick just to say what they want to say without even thinking about it. Um,
Like,
and
well, but where did that come from for you? Have you always had that?
I think so. Because even as a child, I remember my parents saying to me afterwards, "Wow, you were always the one that all the aunts and uncles, I'm not talking about the real aunts, the people you call aunt and uncle,
Yeah.
used to go and sit on their laps and give them a kiss, and you would always be cuddling and, saying nice things, calling everybody auntie, uncle, whatever it was." So I was definitely, I think I had that from a very, very early age. And I think I got that compassion from my dad. A lot of people never understood my father because he had this English exterior. that stiff upper lip thing and always deadpan. Even when he was joking, he'd have that deadpan expression.
Yeah.
He would have given his shirt off his back for anybody who was in trouble. I didn't know anybody who was as compassionate as he was. So I think that that's where it came from.
Hmm. And so for you now, you like, is that something you wish the world was different in? Because you were saying there's so many things that are impactful to you, and I can understand because our world is in a lot of chaos right now, a
Mm,
lot of chaos. And so it's really easy to worry and um, be discouraged. Like, where are you finding your hope right now in the midst of all this? Because I know you mentioned earlier you're on a more spiritual path in your life now.
yeah. Where I'm finding hope is by surrounding myself with like-minded people. So many years ago, I started doing martial arts.
Hmm.
And it was just something that I was sounded fun to do. I said, I don't want to break things or, I don't want to do that stuff. But, I've been doing it for 18 years with the same martial arts school. And
Wow. You must
um,
be good.
well, I managed to get my third degree with black belt, which was wonderful. But of course, as you age, so do your bones and your joints. You can't do kicking and all the things that you used to do. So all of that has gone down, and we concentrate more on the tai chi, the breathing, the calming, the mind, body, spirit connection. That's taught me a lot. It's also brought me closer to a lot of people who have been in the same school as well. So, um, and those friendships have, they are just, I don't know, I can't even explain how important those friendships are for me and my friendship circles, because we do think alike and we do talk a lot, and we don't just talk. We do. Action speaks louder than words. So we do things together to try and help others and to help this mad situation that we're in. So that's how I manage to get through each day, really.
And does that look like your foundation you mentioned earlier? Like, is that part of it, the AO music?
Well, AO music was an interesting one. It started out with me just putting some child voices, because everybody knew me that, oh, she can sound like a child, because I do all that African chanting and stuff on Adiemus and all my stuff. So that's where I became kind of synonymous with that. Even though you won't believe this, but my actual first love was Linda Ronstadt. That's who I really wanted to be. But didn't work out that way in this life. Maybe next life, we'll see. But um, the AO music came along, and it was at that time, it was just a project that involved children singing from all over the world. And so I started doing that. We made a couple of albums together, and then we formed a 5013C, which is that it's a charitable organization. And what
Okay.
we decided to do is that pretty much we'd send groups of people over to, say, the Himalayas, or somewhere in, it could be Southern Africa, could be South America, could be wherever. Find these children's choirs. Now, they're not professional choirs. They're just kids maybe who are who've been orphaned or been displaced by war, but who like to sing together. And we would record them singing maybe one or two lines of one of their folk songs. Uh, so you can probably hear the I don't know if you can hear the thunder, but we looks like we're going to have a thunderstorm here. Um, and we would bring those kids' voices back, and then we would write songs around those little lines that those kids sang. And we
Yeah.
would build it up into a track. It would actually sound like nothing like it sounded when they recorded these couple of lines, because we'd actually turn it into something much bigger. And um, at that point, we decided that all the proceeds from the sale of those tracks that those kids sang on would go back to their orphanages or their charities or whatever it is that they came, that they were close to. So that's what AO Music has been for me. It's not a way for me to make money. It's a way for me, once again, to give back. And that's what we have been doing.
What's that healing element with music?
Yeah.
You're giving people that opportunity and
Yeah.
Um,
Some of them need, some of them don't have running water. So everything
yeah.
that you give to them, it's going to buy them a water purification system or something, so it will help their lives get better.
Well, Miriam, I want to ask you one more question because I'll be respectful of your time. But if there was one word that you think would describe who you are as a person, like if your name was not Miriam, but was an
Mm.
attribute of some kind, or even a nature, any kind of word, whatever comes to your mind, if your name was not Miriam, what do you think it would be?
Maybe it would be, I mean, I keep coming back to the same word, but maybe it would be compassion because that's who I am, whether it be for people, for animals, for our environment. Um, I feel the same towards them all. I just feel compassionate and, empathetic. And that's really who I am as a person,
Yeah.
first and foremost. Everything else comes after that.
Oh, I'm sorry, you said what foremost?
Oh, sorry, that's first and foremost is the compassion, the empathy. After that, everything else comes after that. So the music, that's an offshoot.
Yeah.
Because without the compassion, I don't think that I could have done what I did musically. I don't think I could have had my children. You know what I mean? It's everything else came from that. So that's what I would call myself. If I could find a wonderful uh, Japanese word for compassion, that would be my name.
You should make a soundtrack and
Yeah,
name it that.
yeah,
And act that's healing music our times.
absolutely, 100%. By the way, where are you calling me from?
I'm close to all of this drama. I'm in DC, close to DC.
And
So
I love DC. I've only been there a couple of times, but both times I've just thought, what an amazing city, full of
it's
history.
beautiful. Yes, it is. I have to admit though that the news has been on so much that I just one day got so frazzled. My husband said, you can't do it anymore." And I was like,
No,
"I
you
can't."
have to shut off, and I have to as well. I have to allow myself a certain amount of time, and then I have to shut it down.
Yeah.
Um, it's too painful. Too
Well, it's
painful.
I not only that, but I when you said critical thinking, it's true because even with news, it's like they'll announce something and then 5 minutes later they'll change it, and then the next day it's a completely different story, and you're like, so why didn't you just wait until you
Hmm.
had all the facts
Yep,
and then publish the story? Because
correct.
you made me think the world was ending yesterday, so I was really scared, and now you're telling me this is actually what's going on. And so,
That's the media for you.
yeah, it's very
And that is why
discouraging.
I always fact check. When people send me stuff, I go and I fact check and I say, let me see, is there any truth to the story? Let's see who
Yeah.
is reporting on it, what is happening. And sometimes I have to say to them, this is not real. You're
Yeah.
putting up AI stuff. AI has got so sophisticated now, you cannot tell what's real and what's not.
Yes, it's true. It
It's
is.
scary.
Well, Miriam, I'm so grateful to have met you, and your music
Oh,
is beautiful.
I'm so
And
sorry it's taken this long for us to get together. I spend a lot of time up in Nashville because that's where my kids are. So,
there's
uh,
always a right moment for everything.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm very grateful. Thank you for
This
your
was
time.
meant to
And
be today.
will you have a blessed day and bye to your little dog.
Thank you so much. She's terrified of the thunder, so she's clinging to me like.
Bye.
Bye, sweetie. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.